Honeybee, this movie was fucking amazing.
Godzilla versus Hedorah?
Yes, Godzilla versus Hedorah.
Yes! It's so fucking good.
Oh my gosh. Not everybody feels that way.
What? Really?
There are people in this world that think this is a bad movie. They are objectively wrong, and you should not be friends with them.
1, 2, 3, 4. Monster movie.
Fun time, go! Monster movie.
Fun time, go. Monster
Movie.
Fun time.
Go!
Monster movie. Fun time, go.
With Precious D and Honeybee.
Fun time, go!
Welcome, friends and neighbors, to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. I'm your host, Precious D.
And I'm your host, Honeybee.
Oh man, this movie like fried my brain. I almost said I was Honeybee.
Oh, that was funny.
Today we're going to be talking about Godzilla versus Hedorah, also known as Godzilla versus the Smog Monster from 1971. But before we get into it, I just wanted to mention there's a new kaiju movie on Netflix called Troll.
Yeah, it looks
It's
great.
Norwegian. It's not your typical kaiju in that it's in Norway, it's Norwegian, and it's based on Norwegian mythology, not Japanese mythology or whatever. Not that Godzilla's mythology exactly, but I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but it looks really good. So.
Yeah, it looks so good. And you and I have a mutual friend who is immigrating to Norway eventually. I can't wait to hear what she and her husband think about it.
Who? Oh, I think I know who that is. So, yeah, maybe after we see Troll, we'll just do a brief review of, obviously, once we get to the year 2022 in this show, we'll do a full in-depth thing on it.
Yeah, baby, it looks so good. I'm really excited about it.
But today, we're in 1971, and we're talking about Godzilla versus Hedorah.
Hedorah.
It's in color. It is 85 minutes, directed by Yoshimitsu Banno.
Oh.
Because
we made it. We're in a different era.
well, not quite.
Aww.
We're still in the Showa era, but Honda-san had abruptly retired.
Oh.
Tsuburaya, I believe, had passed away. And the producer was still around, but Tomoyuki Tanaka. But he was sick in the hospital.
Damn.
So he was not overseeing Mr. Banno-san at all during the production of this. And thank God for that.
Yeah, it is fantastic.
I don't have a budget, but I know it was small. The box office, 300 million yen. Featured monsters are, of course, Godzilla or Gojira and Hedorah. Godzilla is his normal height, 50 meters. Hedorah is 20 to 60 meters, depending on what form he's in. And the death count is 524.
Oh, damn.
We will not see Hedorah again until Godzilla Final Wars in 2004, although he will appear in some video games.
Nice.
It stars Akira Yamanouchi as Dr. Toru Yano, Hiroyuki Kawase as Ken Yano, Toshi Kimura as Toshi Yano, Keiko Mari as Miki Fujinomiya, Toshi Shiba as Yukio Kuchi, Yoshio Yoshida as Goai, a fisherman. I'm not going to read the rest because they're just the army guys and some policemen and people we don't care about. But Haru Nakajima is Gojira.
Shout out.
Again. And Kenpachiro Satsuma is Hedorah. He will eventually play Godzilla.
Oh, really? That's interesting. That's cool.
Yes, but not yet.
You gotta do your time.
Yeah. This movie is incredible and bonkers and experimental and awesome.
So awesome.
Which is why some people don't like it.
I don't get it. What didn't they like about it? Like the politics of it or what?
I don't know that it's the politics specifically, because it's got an anti-pollution theme, and who can, no, we should pollute more. I think it's just so stylistically different than what had come before that they just didn't know what to make of it, and kind of very grim and cynical.
Boo!
But to me, it's actually the most like the original Godzilla because it's about something. I keep meaning for us to play a little game called What Is It Really About?
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
But in this movie, we don't need to play that.
Yeah.
Because
no guessing. No guesses.
It is not at all subtle. I mean, as weird as it is, this is basically a children's movie, and there's even parts in it that seem like they're trying to be very educational, because they'll show something in outer space, and then they'll tell, this is the Horsehead Nebula, boys and girls.
Yeah.
This is whatever comet, and, Yeah, some movies kind of try to be subtle about their theme. This movie is not being subtle at all.
Totally.
It opens up with sort of a James Bond theme song credit sequence with a pretty lady singing right at the camera.
Yes. Oh, the eye contact. Row.
Yeah. While there's these, images behind her, and she's just singing about the world is full of chemicals pollution and cadmium and stuff. She lists all these chemicals that we've been dumping into the ocean, and it treats us to give it back. Well, she tells us that all life is destroyed. It's as if she's singing from the future.
Mm-hmm.
Not that all life is going to be destroyed, but that everybody's dead and all life is destroyed. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know how, but I had never seen this one before.
Oh,
In
wow,
fact,
really? That's cool.
Yeah, and I have owned a physical copy of it for several years now and just hadn't got around to it.
Wow.
I put it on the shelf, meaning to have some kind of marathon and go through them in order, and just hadn't got around to it. But now, of course,
here we are.
Marathon, in a way.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm so glad this is the first one that we had both not seen. So that's great.
Yeah, I had not caught it on TV as a kid or anything like that either. I just, had totally missed it.
Wow.
So, yeah, and I was just like, whoa, what is happening?
It's amazing. I'm so glad that you loved it so much, because I several times in my notes was like, this is officially my new favorite Godzilla movie, which not that I really count All Monsters Attack really as a Godzilla movie. I just want to throw it out there. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is definitely my favorite.
I think this is the best one since the first one.
Yeah, same.
Though there is plenty of nonsense in it.
Totally, yes.
Certainly things that don't quite make sense, but that might be part of the filmmaker's point that they don't make sense. It's hard to say. But during the song, we do see a bunch of pollution and stuff floating in the ocean and dead fish and things. And then as the song ends, there is a broken clock floating in the sludge with no hands on it that chimes just as the song ends, to let us know in a less than subtle way that time is up. And we start off with a little Panchito.
Yay, Kenichito.
Who I'm going to argue is perhaps not a Panchito, but is maybe a new thing.
Oh.
I may have to go back and look and see if there's one before him.
Tell me why.
Ken They just call him Ken. They don't call him Kenichi.
Mm-hmm.
They call him Ken. And in fact, he says his own name is Ken. It's not just the subtitles. He says Ken at one point when he's signing his poem, his letter. We'll get to that. Because Ken is not a hot-headed dumbass who goes charging into places he doesn't belong.
Oh my God.
Be rescued.
I can't believe you.
He is a very responsible, intelligent young man who just happens to be where things are happening and tries to warn people. But he doesn't just go off half-cocked and climb into elevators and submarines and hot air balloons and God knows what, trying to just fix it himself. He helps in the attempts to fix things. But he is a child who knows he's a child and needs help from his parents, but also tries to help his parents. So he is the responsible version of the Panchito. So I don't know if that makes him a separate thing or just a variation on the Panchito.
Very interesting.
But I like him.
Good. Well, I'm glad you liked him.
Yeah, I appreciate him. But it starts off with him just kind of playing by himself with Godzilla toys.
Yay. Yeah, I was a little shocked that there was Godzilla toys.
Yeah. It's weird that... this world... I don't know if this is a little bit of Gamera influence.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, coming right off the back of Gamera, I kind of felt like this had a little bit of that influence. Especially with, like, how kind of, like, the little animations and how we saw kind of things that made it kind of seem like it was geared toward children.
It does seem to be geared towards children, but there's so much other weird shit, too. It's hard to know.
Yeah.
But the whole idea that Godzilla is a friend, he calls Godzilla a superhero at the beginning.
A Superman.
Yes, a Superman. The idea that he's going to save us and help us rather than just stomp all over us. We've been moving slowly in that direction, but now, at least in this kid's mind, Godzilla is a hero. But he has Godzilla toy, like 2 different Godzilla toys, and we see in the background he's got a King Ghidorah toy and a couple other ones. I didn't make note of all the different ones, but it looks like he's got several of them, and he's just got a little slide, and he's running the toys down the slide. And his mama calls him in for dinner.
Get cute.
Oh, and something we haven't been doing is making note of when the monster appears in the film. But Hedorah appears in the opening credits immediately.
Yeah.
Even before the song starts.
Yeah. Yeah. I did write down that it took Godzilla 12 minutes to appear in this one.
Yeah, I did too. Because once I made note of Hedorah, I had to make note of Godzilla. Kenny finds some... Let's see. I actually made notes this time because it was just so...
Because it was so good.
Yeah, and I just wanted to write down my thoughts.
Yes. Give it to me.
So apparently Ken's father is some kind of marine biologist. And his mother is a teacher. So some fisherman, whenever he finds weird shit, which he's constantly finding now because the pollution's so bad... He says there's no point in fishing in the whatever bay anymore. It's there's nothing but monsters. He's brought them some new weird fish. And we see a bunch of other ones in jars behind him that the guy has brought in. And it looks like kind of like a giant tadpole, like a foot-long tadpole.
Yeah, I thought it kind of looked like one of those like sucker fish, like the sucky ones that you put on they clean the tanks.
Like a leech. Oh, yeah, like an algae eater kind of thing. Yeah, but it doesn't have any eyes or anything. It's just
just that shape.
Yeah, big tadpole shape thing. I've got the summary here from Wikipedia. Thank you, Wikipedia. But it just kind of jumps right into things and doesn't...
It doesn't give the goods.
Yeah. So Hedorah starts off microscopic and then different ones join up and it gets bigger and bigger. I don't know. We just cut to a lot of we see a lot of reports on the news. The structure, like as I said, the style and the structure of this is just so different from the other ones. So like the family, we see in the film, we see Hedorah on the TV 5 minutes and 22 seconds in, the family's watching the TV and there's a news report about it. And it's attacking a ship or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's kind of reports coming in of multiple of it attacking different places. There seems to be more than one of them. And then we have a scene of Ken on the beach, finding dead sea life. Like he cracks open a clam or an oyster and there's nothing inside of it. Mm-hmm. And the crabs are dead.
Yeah, we see like a lot of skeletons, like little skeletons everywhere.
And there's a diver who apparently is Papa.
Papa!
His father, Papa, who gets attacked. Oh, and
Kenito.
But first, before the diver, Hedorah comes up out of the water in front of Ken and
he slices
tries
his
to
ass.
attack him. Yeah, it kind of jumps over him and he just puts his knife up and cuts him.
Ganks his ass, prison style.
Yeah. But it brushes his hand and it burns his hand a little bit. And then, it's so sad. He's standing. Papa's been down under the water too long. And Kenny's standing there going, Papa.
Screaming
Papa,
for him, yeah.
Come back. So he gets attacked underwater somehow. And I thought he was dead. But then we cut to him alive.
All bandaged up.
Bandaged, in bed at home on the floor. Just because that's the old-fashioned Japanese way of doing things, not because... It's not that they can't afford a bed.
Is it old fashioned? Isn't that still how it is? Or no?
I don't know how much it's still done. Mm. I think a lot of Western stuff is influenced. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people have actual beds in Japan now, but I don't know for sure. They might still just sort of roll out the bed on the floor and then put it away during the day. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I haven't been there. But when I see things on TV and stuff, sometimes it's like that, and sometimes they have an actual bed, a Western style bed. Anyway, he spends a majority of the film lying in bed, bandaged up. But he gets up every now and then to do some experiment. Every time
he gets up to do some important
figure
shit.
out what. Yeah, and his wife's always like, "You should be resting." He's like, "I'm trying to save the world, honey. Trying to figure out this shit." Then they intercut these animated scenes,
which is so cool. I loved it.
Yeah, but the style of animation is it's not typical anime. It's its own style, and it'll show Hedorah attacking a city or something, or the pollution or whatever. And during one of these things, Ken is reading what I think might be a haiku, but I'm not sure. It seems like a haiku. And it's not at all clear, like, is this an assignment in school? Is it a letter he's written? Is it a poem he's written about Hedorah polluting? And does he mention Godzilla in the poem?
He says that it would make Godzilla mad if he knew.
That's it. That's right. Yeah, we polluted everything, and now Hedorah. So the thing is, Hedorah seems to... It's a little confusing because it seems like the pollution created him.
I think he just eats it or like absorbs it.
But he also... Right. He also feeds off of it and it makes him bigger. Mm-hmm. But then later in the film, it's indicated that he came here from space. But in the beginning, there's nothing to say that he came here from outer space. It just seems like he's a result of the pollution mutating the fish and the life forms and stuff, and now he's feeding off the pollution and also causing it.
Yeah.
Because he's a big sludge. Well, he has different forms, but he's a big sludge monster who emits toxic fumes and flings shit everywhere.
Yeah.
And just destroys stuff, but also consumes the pollution. But he doesn't consume it and make it go away. He consumes it and makes it worse.
Yeah, and there's this one part, too, where it looks like he's, like, huffing the pollution. Like, he's just, like, getting stoned.
Yes. I thought you might interpret it that way. Like, oh, Honeybee's going to see this as him toking up on a big old bomb.
Yeah, I was laughing so hard.
He comes up, because eventually he comes up on the land. First he's destroying ships and stuff in the ocean, but then he comes up onto the land. The police don't believe it. They're like, "What are you talking about? He's an ocean. He's a water monster." So everybody in this movie is kind of incompetent, except for Ken and his father.
His family, his family.
The director had a very small budget on this movie, and he had combined. Some say he had to combine. Others say he chose to combine. The drama department and the effects department normally would have been two different units doing their work separately. He had to combine them into one department. He had a very low budget. As I was watching this movie, I'm like, this movie seems like a very small movie. There's hardly anybody in it. We don't really see the huge crowds that we normally see, or the big conference rooms full of military people or that kind of thing. And that's partly because of the budget. I noted at one point that the army attacks Hedorah off camera. We just hear a news report on the radio, the kind of thing normally we would see of the tanks rolling out and making with the bang bang and being useless, is just summed up on the radio by the announcer saying the Japanese Defense Force tried to fight him and were unable to do anything.
AKA, we did not have the budget for that scene.
Yeah. Also, we see Godzilla burning up all the garbage, but turns out it's Ken dreaming this. And then we get a reprise of the song, of the Give It Back song, as Hedorah comes onto land and tokes up on the factory smokestack.
Yeah, smoke them if you got
And
them.
then I have 22 minutes and 47 seconds in, Godzilla arrives for real, not in Kenny's dream or anything. He actually shows up. And then we see that the reprise of the song is actually being performed by a woman in a club.
I thought this was interesting because she kind of is like a hippie babe, right? Like, and I was
Yeah.
like, wow, was the 70s like just the time for hippies in every country?
Yeah.
Wow, very cool. It's like, okay, hippie babe.
There was definitely, we were exporting our culture to the rest of the world, particularly Japan, because of the occupation and all of that. So, they had latched onto rock and roll earlier, and now they're moving forward. As our rock and roll develops, so does theirs. And we're getting a very, sort of psychedelic, groovy thing going on. And they're copying our fashions. There will come a time when we maybe copy their fashions a little bit, but right now they're copying our fashions. So, this is some kind of nightclub with a hippie, cool hep cats hanging out. And she's performing in like a skin-tight outfit and face makeup.
Meow.
With a full band. And one of the guys in the audience is having a bad trip. Because he started, as she's singing the song about the garbage and the death and the giving all back and everything, he starts hallucinating fish heads on all the rest of the patrons.
I love this scene. I love the fish heads.
And it does seem like he is, he's not reacting well to this. It does seem like he has taken something and is reacting badly to it. We don't see him. I don't know. It's hard to know in this movie, though, if we're supposed to believe that he has actually taken drugs and is hallucinating, or if this is all just meant to be symbolic, or a little bit of both. But, of course, being a kid's movie, we don't ever actually see anyone consuming any drugs.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what the fuck is going on, but I love it.
Yeah.
I really like the fish heads.
Yeah, he's definitely having a bad reaction to what he sees. And then Hedorah sort of attacks the club a little bit. Or a little bit of him seeps into the club. It's so weird. It reminded me of the Blob.
Same. It was totally the Blob-ish. Oh, yeah.
The sludge starts coming down, oozing down the steps of the club, and everybody kind of screams and backs up.
But then it's like, nah, just kidding.
But,
and,
then
it
retreats. It retreats and leaves a kitten behind.
Oh.
A little sludge-covered kitten. Neko in Japanese.
Nice.
He looks so cute and pathetic, just sitting there on the steps covered in goop. So that everybody leaves the club, and it turns out the guy having the bad trip and the woman performing are together. They get in a car together, and it turns out they are a couple. And as they get in the car in the distance, they see Godzilla, and one of them says, "Godzilla, let's get closer." Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I know he's kind of the good guy in this movie, but it's still a bad idea. He might step on you by accident.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Godzilla gets stuck in the goop. He and Hedorah are fighting, and he gets stuck in the goop. And then we see another cartoon with a factory sort of eating. These claws are coming out of the factory and grabbing up all the plants. And so the factory's kind of eating the plants. And then Hedorah comes and eats the factory.
Yeah.
And the radio tells us 35 are dead, 81 injured, and 322 buildings destroyed.
Yowza.
Then we find out that this couple has a connection with Ken and his father and everything. And it turns out the young man is his uncle, his mother's brother. What are their names even? This is one of those movies where some people's names don't really get. The singer is Miki, and the uncle is Yukio. So Miki and Yukio come over, and they're talking about what the father's discovering and everything, and they're talking about how Hedorah inhales factory smoke, and Miki suggests that might be a good thing. He'll clean up the environment, and he's like, no, the problem is then he exhales sulfuric acid. So that's a bit of an issue.
And he just sprays shit everywhere.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
just goop. Literal, just goopy shit.
But we see that he just sort of exudes these acid fumes so that he passes by people and they just collapse, and some of them turn to skeletons and things, and they start choking. At the very least, they start coughing and choking, but if he gets close enough, he just turn into a skeleton. And here's where we get them talking about Hedorah being from outer space, and I'm like, wait, what? We didn't see him arrive from space, did we?
Negative.
But then the young couple has decided to take Ken to the amusement park.
Yeah, let's just go ride a roller coaster. You know, it's been quite the roller coaster of a day. Let's just go process all this with some fun, some chosen trauma.
Yeah. The world's not over yet. It's perfectly safe to go outside. Hedorah's not around right now. He was here yesterday, but he's not here today, so let's go to the amusement park. So they're on a roller coaster. Ken catches a glimpse of Godzilla and says, oh, Godzilla's here, so that means Hedorah must be close. Ken has visions and psychic premonitions and stuff. He appears to have mental powers.
Yeah, at one point Godzilla sends him a telepathic message that he's close.
Yeah, this is some weird shit. And it's also not clear whether he has powers of his own or he's just a open receptor to whatever's being sent. Who knows? Yeah. Because he doesn't send any messages back to Godzilla. He just receives messages.
I kind of felt like this was a little Gamera inspired too, even though we don't actually see the kids communicate with Gamera. He usually would just show up, but it still kind of felt like this was kind of a little bit Gamera inspired, just because Godzilla is all of a sudden sending this message to this kid, hey, I'm on my way.
Yeah. So, of course, the adults don't really believe him. Throughout this, though, his father listens to him and believes him. When he suggests something or when he tells him something, his father's like, oh, that's a good idea. Let's try that. But his mother tends to be rather dismissive. And when he tells his uncle and the girlfriend that he saw Godzilla and Hedorah must be close, they just kind of ignore him. So he goes and finds a phone booth to go call his father. And now Hedorah has developed a taste for cars.
Yeah.
He's coming down. He is nearby. The kid was right. He's nearby. He comes up the street and just starts eating everybody's car. The couple have to get out of their car and run away.
He's like, pollution. Nom, 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 nom.
But there's a scene in the oh, this is so good.
It's because he's got the munchies. Okay, sorry.
Before that, it's part of this whole sequence. But Ken's in the phone booth, and then there's a noise or whatever, and the glass in the phone booth is shattered, and Ken is gone. There's like a cutaway and a noise and a cut back, and we see the phone booth glass broken, and we don't see Ken, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But then another shot, and we see he is ducked down.
Mm-hmm.
He's just down where we can't see him, and his father's like, hey, Ken, are you there? And he picks up the phone and then looks up and sees, oh crap.
Oh shit.
The window broke. I'm here by myself. So this is one time he ran off by himself. Yeah, he did run off by himself, but not to try and get into danger, to try and warn his father of the danger, because nobody would listen. This is when the fumes start just killing people as he passes by them. The poison gas knocks out Godzilla. The fumes are melting flesh off the bones of people. Ken gets a little close. He comes running and then sees some people fall and goes back the other way. So he gets a little too close for comfort, but because he's, a little genius, he knows to cover his mouth and to run. Then we get another little cartoon telling us that anti-Hedorah oxygen masks are for sale, which are then shown to be useless. These two pretty cartoon ladies are walking down the street wearing their masks, and they meet each other face to face, and he passes by and they both just turn to skeletons and die.
No.
Because it's going to burn it doesn't matter if you breathe it, it's going to burn your flesh off your bones. Ugh.
Melt your face off, baby.
So then there's a report that Southwest Fuji City is destroyed, 1,600 casualties, over 30,000 injured.
Damn.
And somebody says something that indicates Hedorah is nuclear powered.
Like he's what?
Nuclear powered?
Oh.
I don't remember.
Well, there's like a point where Ken and his dad are talking about, like, he's like, do you know what is it, atomic bombs are? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, this describes that to him, the H-bombs and such. And
that Hedorah's is like that. He's powered by that on the inside or something. And they're trying to come up with a solution, and they still have parts of that original little slug,
little tadpole thing, yeah,
that they are experimenting on. And the father speculates that they could dry it up, and I was like, by doing what? Pouring sawdust on it? But
electrocute, they fry his ass.
Yeah, if he's gonna put electrodes on both sides of him, and this will cause the current to go between the electrodes, and this could dry him up. That's his plan. Then we cut to the uncle, Dum Dum, Yuki, hanging out with a bunch of his fucking hippie friends.
Yeah.
These goddamn hippies. This movie is very cynical, because this movie is not really proposing that the youth are going to save the day. It's kind of proposing that everybody is an incompetent dumbass who doesn't know what they're doing. The authorities are useless. The youth are useless. Everything is shit because we've shit all over everything.
Everyone's gonna die.
And only Godzilla can save us, but we don't deserve it or something. Because this dum-dum wants to gather the youth of Japan for a party at Mount Fuji before Hedorah gets there. Why?
Because it's the 70s, baby.
Right. But Ken has already told them, I mean, no one's listening to him, but I think he said that Godzilla and Hedorah are heading towards Mount Fuji. And I think even the authorities have projected that that's the direction they're going to probably go in and end up at. So it's a little unclear if his purpose is to have some sort of protest or awareness event, or just have one last blowout before we all die. But he seems to think this is going to achieve something.
Come together.
The government does try. Oh, there's this whole... I think we already had it. There's this cool scene where there's all these talking heads on TVs.
Oh, I
these little
love
squares on
the
the screen.
scene.
They keep adding more,
Yes.
and they're just saying things about what we need to do and
What
why
is
won't
the
government
government
do this and
doing?
why
Yeah.
yeah. Why haven't they done this? And they keep adding more and more until we can't tell. They're all talking over each other. It's kind of thing you just don't see in any other.
The fish head people. There's a
Godzilla
few.
movie.
There's a few in there that have like the fish head people.
Yeah, and in one, I think they do 2 of these sequences or too close together, and in one of them, Godzilla's down in the corner on one of the little screens. But the government does try to do something. The government shuts down all industry
Everywhere.
and outlaws cars, at least in the cities. I think if there's an emergency, you can get in your car, but nobody's supposed to be driving their cars out on the road. So they take rather drastic, immediate action, but it might be too late. But then all these hippies, I guess, are going to get in their cars and drive to Mount Fuji for their fucking party.
And they're going to play their guitars and dance their bonfires.
Yeah. It reminds me, see, when I was younger, I thought I wanted to be a hippie. And then it's not a matter of selling out. It's just a matter of realizing that hippies are maybe a little ineffective in achieving their goals or having goals. It's like Eric Cartman once said, as he was waking up from a nightmare.
Hippies. They're everywhere. They want to save the earth, but all they do is smoke pot and smell bad.
You have to actually do something. It's not enough to sing about it. It's not enough to meditate about it. It's not enough to smoke pot and think about it. You got to actually do something.
Like
but these
throw
kids
a
aren't gonna actually
party
do
on Mount Fuji.
Yes, that's their
do
contribution to the effort.
Well, they're like, we're all going to die anyway, so let's just go out like loving each
Right.
other and partying.
Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. So, and I also mentioned that Hedorah, we haven't talked about this much. He has different phases. He's gone through his water phase, and then his land phase, and now he's moved into his air phase because he starts fucking flying like some sort of trilobite spaceship. He's kind of a manta ray, kind of a trilobite-shaped spaceship now.
I also
Just
love
flying
that
around.
we had this like really classic I feel like scene for us that we haven't had in a while, where it's a bunch of guys in a room showing sketches, like colored in sketches of the different phases of Hedorah, and I was like, yes, classic.
Oh,
I've missed this.
They're sketches on the wall. It turns out we're just seeing them real close, and then it pans out. It appears to be a TV interview where somebody's explaining to the host and the audience about the different phases. And then there's a question mark. What will be his next phase? So they assume he's going to evolve further. Then the movie shifts into black and white
Dun, dun, dun.
as the youth sit around in the grass, and our main hippie, Yukio, strums a Jim Croce song.
Okay.
It just reminded me, I thought he was going to start singing Time in a Bottle or something. It just had that general feel of a Jim Croce song. And then suddenly shifts back into color as he sort of declares, it's time for good vibes.
He just jumps up like, let's fucking party.
Yeah. So it goes back into color, and they start playing some more upbeat music and light a goddamn bonfire.
Yeah.
Because that's going to help. That's going to help with the pollution a lot. Let's put some more smoke into the air, you goddamn idiots. Meanwhile, some hobos grimly observe the festivities. Just these grim, almost dead-looking, older, grubby-faced people. We don't know. Are they homeless? Are they nearby villagers? Are they the spirits of the dead? We don't know what they are. Just sort of watch from the bushes, expressionless, as if to say, these goddamn hippies. Or just they bear silent witness to the nonsense going on.
Gosh.
Now Hedorah is 200 feet long. He passes by. We cut back to the family's house, and he passes by and fucks up all the shit.
Like you
Father's
do.
laying there in bed. Father's laying there in bed, and his fish tank that had live fish in it is all mucky now.
They're all dead.
Yeah.
Death and destruction.
This is where the Japanese Defense Force attacks off camera at this moment. And Ken gets a telepathic message from Gojira, and there's a roar. And our final fight is beginning.
Yeah.
And, I should mention the Hedorah suit is the biggest one they've made so far.
And it's amazing. It looks really good.
He is a big sludge monster at this point, but standing upright, and apparently it was just coats and coats of paint to give it this slimy, drippy, gooey look, and it weighed about 250 pounds. Wow. And they're facing off like a couple of sumo wrestlers. They're sort of doing that sideways. They're sizing each other up and doing some sideways step like a couple of sumo wrestlers.
And Godzilla looks a little skinny in this one. I thought his neck looks a little bit longer, his arms look a little bit longer, and he kind of does this like right here, like this, like he's like getting prepared to fight, like this, like, and his arm movement is a little bit different. I noticed.
Part of that might be because they've been using the same suit for several years now, and it's beginning to wear out. It's beginning to look a little ragged. I did wonder, I'm like, is someone else in the suit? But no, it's the same guy we've been seeing. So maybe he's just getting a little older.
Oh no, I thought the movement was better. It was better in this one.
Okay.
Like there was more of it.
It just struck me as different.
Yeah, definitely different.
Moving differently. Though that could also be a quality of the suit getting old, that it's not moving the same way that it used to. I don't know. The hippies decide they're going to help by throwing torches at Hedorah, but that doesn't do any good, of course. If the Defense Force shot tanks at it, presumably, and didn't do any good. We do see at this point, we actually see some Japanese Defense Force in a minute setting things up.
You know,
but
like
they have
you do.
a fight,
Pew,
and
pew, 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 pew.
They have their fight, and Hedorah appears to
shit
pick up
all
Godzilla
over
and drop him
Godzilla,
into Mount Fuji.
and then shit on him.
Yes, that's exactly what I said. It's all over him. He seems to drop him in a hole, and it looked like he sealed him in, but then he pours goop on him. So I guess he didn't seal him in completely because he is able to crap all over him.
Put
A helicopter comes out of nowhere. I think I missed part of somebody's plan. At some point, the Japanese Defense Force has decided that the answer is to drop oxygen bombs on Hedorah. But which is what they're doing right now. But I missed the part where they decided to do that, unless there was no such part.
There was
possible.
No, there was a part.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They explain it. They explain why they think it'll work and all of the things.
Okay. I might have been taking a note and I looked away. So a helicopter comes out of nowhere with a big bomb underneath it, a big spherical thing full of oxygen, I guess, but gets shot down.
Like
it drops
you do.
its oxygen bomb. It does no good. And we see the Japanese Defense Force setting up these great big electrodes. And Mother arrives driving Papa in the back of their little sort of station wagon kind of hatchback thing. He is still in bed in his pajamas, but in the back of the car now.
Yeah.
So he was burned pretty badly. He had some really bad chemical burn over and may have lost an eye. So he gets out to supervise because it's his plan. The power lines are down and a Jeep gets smashed. Godzilla steps on it, I think.
Oopsie. I wonder if Godzilla stepping on a Jeep is like one of us stepping on a Lego. Like, God damn it.
It does seem like he does it by accident. He wasn't trying to kill this guy in the Jeep. They're just incompetent, so they got in the way. And Hedorah is shooting lasers now, and then Godzilla did what I thought looked like maybe it was meant to be an Ultraman move to try to block it.
Oh.
He does a little gesture with his two forearms, and one of them kind of crossing the other, and I was like, is he trying to do an Ultraman block? Is this a little joke that they've thrown in? I don't know.
Cute.
So they start setting up the electrode plan, but they're having problems because the
plane got shot
knocked
down.
over the power lines. The plane got shot down. Well, that was there are two different plans. There's a dropping oxygen bombs, and there's a setting up the electrodes. But the monster fight knocked out the power lines, so they're trying to repair that.
Which is a good other like classic moment that we've kind of missed for a while is the power lines. Yeah.
Yep. So the helicopter 2 shows up with a second oxygen bomb. I think he's running a little late. And the general or whoever in charge is like, oh, that idiot. Because at this point, that plan's gone and we're trying to do the electrode plan. And then this fucker shows up late with his oxygen bomb. And he's like, no, that's the... and then he gets shot down.
Don't be late. Moral of the story. Be on time.
Yeah. So they do a whole thing with, of course, the monsters, the electrodes are in one place. They can't move them, so they need to get the monster to conveniently walk between them.
So what do they
do? Trying to lure
Another classic.
Yeah. Flash the
lights.
Lights either attract or repel monsters, depending on the needs of the plot.
Yay!
So they do. So yeah, there are some old-fashioned elements in this. They just all appear in different ways than they normally do,
which I loved.
So they flash the lights of the Jeeps to try and lure Hedorah between the electrodes, and it seems like the plan works at first. And Godzilla approaches, still having some problems. He's gotten out of the pit, I guess. Gotten the crap off of him. And the electrodes zap Hedorah, and he seems to have dried out. And then Godzilla goes over there and rips his balls out. Well, first, so he puts his fist through his body and pulls out this this sphere. And at first I thought he's ripping his heart out. That's what
I was thinking. His heart.
No, well, that's what I thought at first. It's kind of it's not quite glowing. It's sort of silvery, and it kind of, I'm not sure if it's really glowing or just the light's shining off of it. But then he reaches in and pulls out a second one. And I was like, wait, did he just pull his balls off? Because he's got two of them now. He's two balls in his hands.
Well, some animals have more than one heart. Maybe he just had more than one.
It's a perfectly spherical heart.
He just rips his space balls out.
Yeah. He holds them out and then uses his atomic breath to activate the electrodes himself.
Yeah.
And this fries the two balls and they turn into dust.
Clear.
But then it turns out Hedorah's not destroyed. His flying form rises up out of the goopy remains of the giant sludge form and flies away. So this part here is maybe a reason why many Godzilla fans hate this movie.
Lame. Not a good enough reason.
This is because if you thought the little Irish jig he did was maybe a bit too much, this next part, some people are mad about it. I was just a little confused. But also, why didn't you do that before? And also, is this more Gamera contamination? What Godzilla does, do you want to describe it, Honeybee?
No, please.
You're letting me do it?
I'm gonna let you do it. I would love to hear you describe it.
He starts shooting his atomic breath and kind of curls his tail and his butt up and his legs underneath himself, curls himself in a ball as much as he can, and uses his atomic breath as a jet to fly.
And the way his arms are out, and like the kind of the angle that they show you, it really kind of looks like a little Gamera-ish.
He doesn't spin around in a circle, but
also Gams hasn't spun in a circle in the last maybe 2 or 3 films. So
yeah. So he and I wrote down here trying to show up Gamera. Mm-hmm. So that may be. So Godzilla flies now, but he flies backward. He has to fly backwards because he has to shoot out the ray from his mouth to blast himself. Mm-hmm. Because for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. He's using science here to use his breath as a jet.
I believe I can fly.
But it does look a bit silly, and it's something he's never done before, and I understand why people could have been upset. But that's because they're not appreciating the film as a whole. They're just looking at that moment and saying, I don't argue that this is stupid.
But it's not enough to destroy the film.
All of these movies have stupid shit in them.
Yeah.
But there's just the rest of the film is just so
amazeballs,
good and different, and so he catches Hedorah and brings him back.
Mm-hmm. He said, "Not my house, son."
And puts him between the electrodes. Powers them up again because the army's incompetent. They can't power them themselves. The plan's not working. Mm-hmm. It's only working because he's adding his atomic breath to the electrodes, which is, I don't think, really just shooting atomic breath at electrodes causes them to power up. But it's Godzilla.
But it's fucking Godzilla, baby. So
yeah. So oh my God. He brings him back, he dumps him between the electrodes, starts just pulling him apart, just tearing him piece to piece. Literally tearing him to pieces. Just reaching through his skin and pulling out chunks of him and throwing it around so that he can then power up the electrodes and just fry all the little bits and turn them to ash. As the Give It Back song is playing. It's a variation of it. It's like the men's chorus version. I can't remember now what the word was, but there's this one word that the subtitles are translating as "Give It Back." So they're singing this one word over and over again as he just destroys this other monster. So then we get sort of a full reprise of the song from the male chorus as Godzilla leaves and Ken comes by with the girlfriend?
Question mark?
Yeah, he's not with his mother or his uncle or his father. It's the singer, Miki. She seems to be the one that's brought him. He's at the party. I didn't mention this. They've decided to bring him to the party. Even though he's warned them all, Godzilla's coming. They brought him to the party. He seems to be kind of enjoying himself while the music is going on, but he seems to be hanging out with Miki as Yukio is performing music. Mm-hmm. So the two of them run up to the hill to wave to Godzilla and say goodbye. And then oh, damn it, I need to look this up. Hold on, I'm going to have to cut part of this out while I look it up. Look up what
do
it
your
is.
thing, baby.
Give me. Okay. Ken Ken waves goodbye and says sayonara, Gojira, sayonara, as Godzilla leaves. And then we cut to a shot of the painting Under the Wave off Kanagawa, also known as the Great Wave, which is a famous Japanese painting that you have seen. If you think you haven't seen it, you've seen it. Hokusai, Under the Wave of Kanagawa. Is Hokusai the painter?
I don't know.
From the series 36 Views of Mount Fuji, which is where they are, Mount Fuji. It's in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Yes, Hokusai is the artist. You've seen this painting, but I've also seen this painting with like Godzilla inserted into it. Posters or T-shirts or stuff. In the making of the, did you ever? Wow, what is the movie?
What?
What's the movie? The fish fucking movie that's not a fish fucking movie. It's an fucking movie.
What? What are you talking about?
Guillermo del Toro. That movie.
With the deaf girl?
Yes.
Oh shit, what is it?
We're gonna have to cut all this shit out. The Shape of Water. The Shape of Water.
Oh yeah, okay. I never saw it, but I really wanted to.
Okay. So I'm gonna cut all that.
Okay.
I saw a making of The Shape of Water, and they had recreated this painting on the wall of the woman's apartment and then painted over it so that it's just sort of implied, hinted at. You can just sort of kind of see it subliminally. So you don't see the actual painting. You kind of see it through the paint on the wall in the background to just imply this painting. Anyway, we cut to a shot of that painting and then a title card that says, "Will there be another?" The end.
Will there be another?
There will not, because the powers that be were not happy with the final result
I'm so
of
sad.
this movie.
I am
Mr.
so
Bano
sad
was in
about
a
that.
little bit of trouble. Yeah. When Tanaka-san got out of the hospital and saw the final product,
He's like,
he
what
said,
the fuck did you do?
Is this? You have ruined Godzilla, he said.
No, it was so good.
The movie was not as profitable. It didn't lose money, but it wasn't as big of a hit as they had hoped. And he wanted to make a sequel with Hedorah again, but in Africa this time. But he was not allowed to, and he never directed another Toho film, and was demoted from director to producer.
Damn.
I don't think he ever directed a feature film again.
Holy shit.
But he certainly didn't for Toho.
Wow.
But I read somewhere that he was an executive producer on the Legendary Pictures American Godzilla films.
Oh,
So he's still working. He's not, homeless on the streets trying to direct short films for some spare change. He's still producing stuff. But
well, damn, that's so shocking to me.
Let's see. He directed a TV series called Ninja the Wonder Boy in 1985. And this was his first feature film and his last feature film. He was assistant director on a bunch of stuff. And before this, and on one thing after this, has a few writing credits. And then was as I said, an executive producer on those recent ones, although he passed away in 2017 at the age of 86.
Ow.
So he is listed posthumously as a producer on King of Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong. But so I don't. That's weird that he was a posthumous producer. So maybe he had done some pre-production work. You know, those movies take forever, or maybe it was just a courtesy. Who knows? Yeah, Godzilla King of Monsters was dedicated to his memory, along with Haru Nakajima, who, as we know, actually plays Godzilla in 12 of these movies.
Yeah, baby.
So I think what is this really about? The real lesson of the movie is that the solution to pollution is atomic power.
The solution to pollution is atomic power. Oh,
I don't think that was anybody's intended thesis statement of the film. But it is Godzilla's atomic breath and atomic powers that save the day. And yes, people are scared to death of atomic power. Because if it goes bad, it goes really bad. But most of the time it doesn't go bad, and it spews a lot less crap in the air. The impact on the environment from some other forms of power, you know, certainly like coal, is cumulatively much worse than atomic power. And atomic plants are a lot safer than they were back, you know, when 3 Mile... Well, you don't know when you weren't around when 3 Mile Island happened. There was a big disaster in a Japanese power plant, but I don't know the details of that. The thing is, if they're maintained, that's the problem. If they're maintained and they use the latest technology and developments and things, you get a lot of power out of them without that much pollution. There is a problem with, you know, the leftover stuff, but there's also a huge problem with all the oil we're burning and the coal we're spewing in the air, and that may be a more immediate problem. I don't know. This is not a alternative forms of energy podcast, but atomic power is an option that maybe we should be exploring more, rather than just continuing to burn shit and spew it in. So, Honeybee, what is your rating for Gojira Tai Hedorah?
Gojira Tai Hedorah, 5 stars from me. This is my favorite Gojira film so far. I loved it. I loved so much about it. The costumes were great. I thought that the monsters looked amazing. The monster fights were amazing. I loved the symbolism and I loved that it was geared for kids. So there was like that, like you said, educational stuff. And it was so good. I also loved how there was so many little classic things that we saw that we've kind of been missing the last few movies. We haven't seen very many of those things that we saw almost every movie in the beginning. So it was so good. I enjoyed it so much. 5 stars for me. I loved Hedorah. I thought Hedorah was so cool. Loved the whole sludginess of it. And we did watch a short from 2021.
Yes. So that would have been the 50th anniversary of the release of this movie.
Oh.
So at G-Fest, the big Godzilla convention in Japan, there's a big one here in America, but there's also one in Japan. I think they're both called G-Fest, and I believe it was the Japanese G-Fest, but I won't swear to it. They premiered a little short film just to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Godzilla vs. Hedorah. And it's not on YouTube. The other one, next week's movie, there's one that's on YouTube. This one we had to find archived on the internet. But you can look it up. It's just called Godzilla vs. Hedorah.
It's 5 minutes, so worth it. Please do it. It's so good. They look so good.
It's just a fight.
Right.
It's CGI. It's just a quick little fight.
Great
it's
camera
very much
angles.
Observed Yeah, it's as if you're watching from the street level. So a lot of times they walk behind a building and you can't see them, and they come out from behind the building.
Yes, but what I was going to say about it was the sound effects of Hedorah is so good in the short, because it's like he's very like sludgy and squishy and very like all of these things that he was really in this first movie, and I loved it. I loved it so much. This is for sure one of my new favorites. So glad to be back with Gojira movies. I love Gamera, but I was just so ready and so happy to watch a Godzilla movie, and it did not disappoint. I cannot believe that people didn't like this movie, because it is 5 stars, fantastic, highly recommend. Can't wait to watch it again. Looks so good. So good.
Yes, I also give it 5 stars. I don't know that it's my favorite. I think it's my favorite since the original.
Yeah.
I think it's the best one since the original.
Totally.
I think I like it more than the original.
Oh, man. I would say it's like definitely my favorite since the original, and I would say my favorite so far in the series.
Let me just find a thing here real quick.
I also love how how mean Godzilla looks in the 2021 short. He just looks like, "Arr," and I really loved it.
I think I saw that this was the last film that AIP distributed. The last Godzilla film that they distributed in the U.S. I really loved how the director Bano, Bano. I really like how he tried to do something new and fresh and different, and at the same time take Godzilla back to his roots, to his original form, because under the writing influence of Shinichi Sekizawa, who did not write this one but wrote a bunch of the more recent ones, it was getting away from that whole Godzilla being symbolic of anything and it just being monsters fighting each other just to fight each other, and Godzilla's just sort of being the defender of the earth and not the righteous wrath of the earth come to pay us back for our sins. So he tried something new and at the same time something old and got punished for it.
Ugh,
but
so sad because it was so good.
It didn't actually lose money. It just, I think I've mentioned this Champion Film Festival that they start having every year, where they would show kind of edited versions of the Godzilla movies for kids. And I guess maybe, I don't know if the new ones were edited, but they would, they'd run a whole bunch of them. And this did not do as well as previous movies at the festival. So that was part of the idea that you had ruined Godzilla. The thing is, the next movie made less money but cost less money, so had a bigger profit.
This movie was way better.
So yes, it was. We'll be back next week to talk about that next movie, Godzilla versus Gigan, which you can see on HBO. Both of these are on HBO. HBO Max. Folks, we should have a Patreon by this point, I think. If not, Honeybee and I recorded some exclusive content for potential patrons the other day. Hopefully we'll have edited it by this point, and once we have a single patron, we will put it up there.
Yay!
And the more patrons we get, the more bonus material you'll get. We're going to try to give you early releases of episodes and commercial-free versions of episodes. And exclusive episodes that you'll only get as a patron. So I will, if I've got it all up and running, I will put the link to it in the show notes. Follow us on all the social medias. Tell all your friends. I think that's about it for today. You got anything else to say?
Oh, I don't think so. I think that is about it. Shout out to my neighbors who started listening to the podcast. They probably won't hear this for a really long time because they started on number 1. But
it's going to take them a while to catch up.
Yeah. Love you guys. Thanks for listening.
Oh, yes. Thank you all for listening. I have been Precious D.
And I have been Honeybee.
Remember to keep calm and seek shelter in basements.
And please, don't misuse science.
And give a hoot. Don't pollute.
Littering is unlawful.
We won't see you, but you will hear us next time on Monster Movie Fun Time Go.
Bye!
You've been listening to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on your podcasting platform of choice. Our theme song is by the Texicano folk rock punk featuring Lita Lopez. You can support the show, find links to our social media, and even leave us a voice message at anchor.fm/MMFTG.
Don't I know?